a massive plan to overhaul Connecticut's transportation system, planes, trains, and automobiles. Right now on Face the State, new highway interchanges, more rail, and a better connection to Bradley Airport. How will we pay for it? Will there be tolls? When will it be done? We will ask Governor Ned Lamont. Plus, his take on a few other issues as well. It's all straight ahead on Face the State this Sunday, November 10th, 2019.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
It is 8:30 on this Sunday morning. Good morning. I'm Dennis House. Thanks for joining us. It is the signature issue of the Lamont era, transportation. And this week, Governor Lamont unveiled a new plan to overhaul Connecticut's transportation system. And the governor is here now to talk about it. And Governor, good to see you back here in the program.
Hey, Dennis, good to be here.
So it's called Connecticut 2030. Explain to me what it's all about.
Every single business leader I talked to when I was running saying, if you want to get this economy back on tracks, get your fiscal house in order and speed up the transportation system. And the two are related because right now we have a special transportation fund that's slowly going underwater. So CT 2030 fixes that, makes sure we have the funding for the long term, and more importantly, brings our roads and bridges up to a state of good repair and speeds up rail service and ends those choke points that are slowing up traffic all over the state.
This seems to be a clearer program, easier to understand than the one last year, because last year you said you wanted to fix transportation, and then tolls were proposed, and people got upset, and it sort of got lost in the shuffle as to what the program was all about. So what are the key points as to the things you want to address in this Connecticut 2030?
That in previous iterations, governors have said we had a capacity problem on our roads. We need more lanes costing tens of billions of dollars. That's not the problem. But we do have these choke points, which slow up traffic dramatically. Nobody travels around the state of Connecticut more than I do, I don't think, these days. And I know exactly where those choke points are going to be. We fixed one of them just 6 months ago. That's the 2.5 miles on I-84 between Hartford and Waterbury. That saves up almost half an hour in each direction. We didn't need a new lane. We needed 2.5 miles to speed it up.
Give us an example of one of those choke points. What will be done, and how will we see the changes?
Well, down in Fairfield County, you'll see an exit ramp between Fairfield and Bridgeport that's a little bit longer. And I know every day at the same time that thing drags back for maybe 25-minute delays. We'll fix that exit ramp and make sure the traffic flows. Same thing in the southerly direction. Charter Oak Bridge on the way into Hartford. You already see the work going on there. People know how long that jam up can be on their way over.
That's right. Heading north into Hartford to get into Charter Oak, it does back up for,
backs up for a long way. And I think that'll save a good 15, 20 minutes as well once that is completed.
How will that be changed exactly?
I think that's going to go from 1 to 2 lanes on the exit ramp, and I think it's going to be a much longer lead into that ramp. So those are the type of checkpoints or chokes that can greatly expand the capacity and really speed up traffic flow. Look, and I hear wherever I go, it takes a dad longer to get his kid to school, can't get to the business on time thereafter. I hear from business folks saying that my customers are having a hard time getting to the office. Dennis, our location used to be our greatest advantage. We could move around between our towns easily. You could get to Boston or New York on train pretty quickly. That's slowed up dramatically in the last 40 years, and that's costing us a lot.
One of the statistics from the DOT says 78% of the drivers in our state are driving alone. Is that part of the problem, that people aren't using public transportation more?
Well, we got to make public transportation better. We got to have make it easier to live near where the rail station is. I'm speeding up rail service from Hartford to New Haven to Stamford. New Haven to Stamford, I can take 15 minutes off that time. That will get more people out of their cars into the train, so the train is faster, and that will speed up flow on I-95.
How do you chop off 15 minutes off that trip by rail?
Here's what you do. You have really old rail. So first of all, we can clean up the connections there on the rail. 2, you've got 90-year-old bridges where often the train has to slow to 35 miles an hour to go over that bridge, and then it accelerates again. Those 2 things plus some signalization, we can get back to where we were 50 years ago when it was 15 minutes faster.
Because the bridges are just unsafe to go faster? Is that the...
Yeah. I'm afraid that's true.
And in terms of increasing the speed traveling between Hartford and New Haven, how do you do that? Because the Hartford line is relatively new. Would there be improvements to that?
I think, again, the other thing we're going to do is have brand new cars. new cars with 5G Wi-Fi. So the cars go faster, they accelerate faster, that speeds it up, and it's not wasted time in the train any longer. You can take your office with you in that iPhone and be able to work the entire way. We'll have that done within a couple of years, the Wi-Fi.
Another part of this program is increasing the links to Bradley Airport. And when Tom Meskel was governor back in the early 70s, he proposed a trolley from the parking lots, the satellite parking lots. And when Governor Grasso came in, she started to dismantle it, thinking that that wasn't really a good idea. Now people say, well, maybe we do need a better link to the airport. What is your idea for it?
My idea is the Bradley Airport has expanded 38% in the last year. It's growing very quickly. We've got a brand new project there for the rent-a-cars and the such, making it much more hospitable. And anything I can do to expand the reach of that airport, make it easier for Hartford to be able to get there, all the towns along the way. Every town along the way with the rail line going by there will have a great opportunity to grow and expand. Easier ingress into Hartford and access to Bradley Airport.
So you're talking direct rail from the stations right now to the airport?
I don't think it'll go right to the airport, but it'll go close.
So how would a person get from that drop-off point to the airport?
I believe it's going to be just the shuttle bus.
Shuttle bus,
yep.
Okay. Let's talk about the big question here, and that is, how is this all going to be paid for? Because a lot of people are thinking, well, are they going to propose 50-odd tolls again? What's the plan?
Well, everybody loves the idea. They like the plan. They know it's important. They know we can't put it off anymore. They know the Special Transportation Fund is going under, but people don't want to pay for it. So we pay for it two different ways. One, we've gone down to the Trump Department of Transportation. It's an historic opportunity to get financing at less than 2% with very flexible rates in terms of how we pay for it over a period of time. But the Trump DOT has told us very clearly you have to have an independent, reliable revenue stream to do it. So you just can't do it. Legislature will allocate money this year, but they may not do it next year. So they said, look, you can have a gas tax. That's what some states have done. You can allocate sales tax. That's what other states have done. We're going to have a user fee on 14 bridges. Somewhere between 50 cents and $1, a lot more for the out-of-state tractor-trailer trucks. That revenue stream goes right to the contractor who's building that bridge, and once the loan is paid off, we no longer need those gantries.
So you're saying today the tolls are temporary?
I'm saying the tolls can be absolutely temporary. We can write that into the contract. We can say as soon as that bridge is paid off, you no longer need to have that toll there. That can be per contract. Look, I'll listen to Len Vazano and the folks in the legislature and see if that's important to them. We can make it by contract.
Which bridges are we talking about? Just a couple. You have to name all 14.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Look, there are 14 bridges, large and small, around the state. Look, in my original Gold Star Bridge, let's say, is the biggest one up there, Groton, New London. If you've ever been there, I've been there a lot lately, you can't even park underneath it because the concrete is, crashing down on occasion. They get you away from there. Let's say the viaduct right here in Hartford. We spend millions every year just trying to patch it up, see if it'll go for another year. Now we're going to put in enough so that we can fix it for the next 25 years.
Let's talk about the viaduct, because it has been a big discussion in the city of Hartford. John Larson wants to put a tunnel in from the Asylum Hill neighborhood all the way to the Connecticut River. There are other people who want a hybrid, partly underneath. Some say just rebuilding it is a waste of money. Which project do you favor?
Look, my original draft, I thought we should have redesigned the viaduct and done something bolder, but that's really expensive. So love John Larson. Give us the federal grant money and we'll go with it. But in the meantime, what we're doing right now in CT 2030 is fixing the viaduct for the next 25 years. So it's in a state of good repair, so we don't have to spend millions every year trying to maintain it and make it safe.
So essentially unchanged. It'll look the same, only it'll be new?
Pretty much.
But what about the city planners, like the mayor, who is now counting on this new development to cover part of that highway to build buildings on top of that?
I think that's a bigger project, which we'll see whether John Larson and company can get the federal grant money to do that. What I'm going to do is make the viaduct safer. I'm going to clean up a couple of the choke points so it's easier to get in and out of Hartford. The 84-91 link is going to be cleaned up. Physically, it won't be dramatically different in appearance, but it'll be safe and faster.
I want to talk about these user fees, the tolls. Were you surprised by the resistance last year when they were first proposed, the groups out there demonstrating and having these rallies?
No. It's...
But did you think the opposition would be that strong?
I'm afraid so. I mean, They say no tolls, but they don't say more borrowing. Or they say no tolls, but they don't say let's not fix the road. Or they say no tolls, you have to have an alternative. I've thought about this long, hard. Do I want to do this? Do I want this to be defining for the next 6 months? No. But I come out of the business world. I see a problem. I solve it in a legitimate way. I sit down with the Senate Republicans and say, look, if you have a better idea, let's bring it to the table. You want to do a little bit of prioritized progress? We've got $100 million in there to do that. But we got to solve the problem.
We'll continue our discussion in just a moment with Governor Lamont, and we're going to queue up some vintage videotape for you to take a look at of yourself from 13 years ago. We welcome you to watch past editions of Face the State right now on WFSB.com, on our app, or our YouTube channel. We'll be right back.